What is going on, UFC MMA fans? How are you all doing? I hope you're doing well. I haven't done a video in a little while, and I want to get right into it. I've got a little computer issues, and UFC 77 was a very boring event, so I'm kind of glad I didn't do a preview for it, because if it at all contributes to anybody watching that boring ass fight, then I don't want to be a part of it. I'm just kidding. Alright, let's get right into it. UFC 78. I really want to go through this quickly because I have something to say about one of the participants in the main event. Really just disillusioned with the UFC right now. But I'll get into that in a minute because I only have 10 minutes for these videos. Frank Edgar versus Spencer Fisher. Just for the record, they haven't listed any undercards yet, so can't do those yet. Maybe I'll make a video if there's any good undercards to talk about. Frank Edgar versus Spencer Fisher. This fight's pretty interesting. It's the classic war of a stand-up guy versus a good ground fighter. Spencer Fisher's last fight was, I think it was a fight night. Was it? It might have been Sam Stout. I don't know if he's had a fight since then. But it was a good war, a nice stand-up war. Spencer Fisher's really dangerous on the feet. He throws bombs. He's very aggressive. Frank Edgar is just a really good ground fighter, really technical, good submissions, good jiu-jitsu, and I think he's undefeated here, 6-0. Okay, so Spencer Fisher's 20-3. In this fight, I think what you go with, since it's such a tough matchup, to say who's going to be able to impose their will. We know Spencer Fisher's going to come out, try to keep it on the feet. He's got good sprawl. I think he's going to get taken down at some point. I think Frank Edgar's probably going to have him in some precarious positions on the ground, probably going to be going for that rear naked choke. I just think at the end of the day, Spencer's going to be able to keep it on the feet long enough to get 2 out of the 3 rounds. I don't think he's going to knock out Edgar, but I really do think he's going to give him his first loss. I think he'll be 6-1 after this. And Spencer Fisher, if he wins this fight, he's moving on up. So, we'll see. There's really no one there at this point. If Sean Shirk has to relinquish the title, then Spencer Fisher's right up there for a title shot. Again, and if Frank Edgar can pull this out, which I think if he does, he'll probably get a submission somewhere in the middle round, after Spencer gasses a little bit from throwing a lot of bombs in the first round, gets taken down. But this is a really interesting fight and could have some really strong title implications in the coming year and a half. The next fight listed, Karo Parisian, which I'm really looking. By the way, I'm going to this event, and I thought when I bought my ticket, my $150 ticket, I thought the main event was going to be Tito versus Hendo, and I was really excited for that. Tito's one of my favorite fighters, and Hendo's just a fucking beast, but not going to happen. Tito's taking time off to really get back in shape, get healthy, because if you've seen Tito fight the last couple of years, he just never looks healthy. When he has flashes like the first round versus Forrest, first round versus even Rashad, he looked great, but he goes away a little bit in the end, and I think a big part of that is his injuries. But hopefully he comes back strong, because he could be a contender with Chuck fading away a little bit. He doesn't have to worry about that fight, which he really can't win. But there's a lot of guys he can beat in that division, and I think he can reclaim his title. I think he's young enough. He's still 31 or 32. If he's just turned 32, possibly. I don't know. But the next fight, sorry for digressing, Karo Parisian versus Royo Chonin. I'm sorry, I've never seen this guy fight. I know nothing about him. I don't even know what he looks like because there's no picture. I've been looking around on websites trying to find out anything I could about him, and there's not really much to say. 13-7, so he's got a pretty good record. But at the end of the day, Karo Parisian is just, he's just one of the best welterweights in the world, in my opinion. I didn't like his loss to Who did he lose to? Diego Sanchez. I didn't like that loss. I picked him to win that fight. I thought he was going to win that fight. He's one of these guys he's talked about like he's some great fighter, but when it comes to stepping up and fighting, he's lost. He's lost the big fights. And he really needs to step up and win here and prove that he's a major player in the welterweight division. And I'd really like to see him get a title shot if he can win a couple fights. I'd love to see him versus GSP. I think he'd destroy Matt Serra, but then again, I thought GSP would destroy Matt Serra, so let's see what happens for Matt Serra. But this is going to be a good fight. I'm picking Parisian, as always, and I only say it's going to be a good fight because every fight that Parisian's in is a good fight, in my opinion. Alright, next fight, David Terrell versus Ed Herman. I am so fucking sick of seeing Ed Herman fight. I can't stand the guy. I think he's a bum. This fight, David Terrell's better. Neither one of them are great on the feet. You might disagree with that, but I don't like either one of their stand-up too much. And I think what this comes down to is they're both going to try to take the fight to the ground. And I think Ed's going to be on his back a lot of the time. If David Terrell gets on his back, he's great off his back. Ed, not so much. Ed's kind of a bully. He likes to be in upper-handed positions. When he's not, he doesn't like it, and he can't really respond, in my opinion. So I think what's going to happen is Ed's going to be on his back for a lot of the fight, and I think he'll probably get submitted, armbar, rear naked choke, who knows. But I think he's going to get submitted, and he'll tap. Like, he talks tough, but then he taps when he gets choked. We saw that against, I forget who he fought. But, so yeah, I'm going to pick David Terrell, probably second round submission. If not, go to the judges, he'll still win it. He's better on the ground in every aspect. Thiago Silva versus Houston Alexander, probably going to be the fight of the night. I know that's an easy pick, a trendy pick, but I like this matchup, and I think it's going to be a great fight. Thiago Silva, here's the difference. We know what Thiago Silva is. We still don't know what Houston Alexander is. We've seen him twice, and he's destroyed both opponents. But at the same time, he hasn't had to show, so it's not fair to say he hasn't shown much of a game besides just swinging, throwing bombs. But I think at the end of the day, if what I know about Houston Alexander is to be correct, and I did pick, if you look back at my videos, I picked him to beat Keith Jardine. So I knew a little bit. I knew he had good stand-up, and I knew Jardine was taking him lightly. And I've seen a couple of his fights outside of the UFC on YouTube. But Thiago Silva is just a complete fighter. He's aggressive. He will come at you. He will throw bombs. You want to go to the ground, he can do that. And I'm only guessing that he's better on the ground than Houston Alexander. And I know for a fact that if he has any brains in his head, he's gonna try to go to the ground. And on the ground, he's going to win this fight. So, if he stays standing up, tries to throw bombs, Houston's going to beat him. Because, I mean, he's got great stand-up himself, Silva does, but Houston's been very impressive. So, let's hope that we get a little mix of action. We want to see what Houston's got on the ground and see if we really have a potential championship contender. If he wins this fight, he deserves a title shot, does Alexander. So let's look for. I'm thinking let's look for Thiago Silva to win this fight, probably by judge's decision, and I think it's going to be an exciting fight. Okay, Michael Bisping versus Rashad Evans. I don't know how much time I have left on this video. Okay, let me make this quick. I'll do my discourse on Bisping in another video. This fight, I believe that it's that last fight. The Count versus Hamill, I just think Hamill just dominated him, showed he has no sprawl, no takedown defense, no ground game, can't work off his back. His stand-up it's good, it's solid, but it's not great. Rashad's stand-up is god-awful, in my opinion. I thought he looked hysterical against Tito with all that shaking and moving shit he was doing. But at the end of the day, Rashad's a great wrestler, and you can't take him down. Tito's much stronger, in my opinion, than Bisping is, and Tito couldn't take him down. So I think this fight's going to be boring. I think Rashad's going to be on top of him most of the time, and there's nothing Bisping's going to be able to do, much like his last fight, and Bisping is going to lose much like he lost his last fight, in my opinion, and pretty much everyone else that has two eyes and a brain. So I'm thinking that fight's going to go to the decision, and unbelievably, these two clowns are main eventing the fight. Main eventing the UFC. I would have much rather seen Houston Alexander versus Thiago Silva as the main event. Much better fight. Between, I think, probably better fighters. But that's neither here nor there. So that's UFC 78. And I'm going to make a follow-up video based on what else I had to say. So thanks for watching, and come back again. See you later. Peace.